Welcome to section 2 of the 24th devlog for Lazr. I broke this week's video into two sections because this second section is rather technical. In this video we're going to be looking at how Lazr's first alpha, 0.24, plays across a variety of different CPUs and GPUs. Let's get started. I've labeled 4 test platforms, A, B, C, D. I've recorded video of the hover tank boss fight for each platform, shown on the left. Platform A is a cheap tablet with a 1.1 GHz CPU and an Intel UHD 600 integrated graphics chip. Even on this low-end platform, Lazr runs between 100 to 200 frames per second, between 5 to 7 milliseconds per frame. Platform B is a cheap laptop with a 2.6 GHz CPU and an Intel HD 4000 integrated graphics chip. On this low-end platform, we get between 100 to 400 frames per second, between 2 to 4 milliseconds per frame. Platforms C and D are desktops with increasing CPU speed and better graphics cards. They run the alpha at thousands of frames per second, as expected. Let's take a closer look at Platform A, the least powerful platform I can test on at the moment. Platform A is a cheap tablet with a 1.1 GHz processor and an Intel UHD 600 integrated graphics chip. For this test, I just recorded the screen with my phone, as it was kind of last minute. In this test, I fight the hover tank boss, and the frames per second results are quite acceptable, staying above 60, and usually within the range of 100 to 200 throughout the entire boss fight, which I consider a good, fair test of the game's systems. I noticed some occasional visual lag on the tablet while playing, which I assume is the OS running other tasks in the background, and not the game, as the game never slows down or drops a frame. I was really impressed by how well the game ran on this hardware. There's a lot of optimizations left to do to the game, but it's in a really great spot, running very efficiently on pretty low-end hardware. Now I'd like to compare all the testing platforms and target platforms that I've planned for Lazr. Lazr is primarily CPU speed bound. The GPU isn't used much, so the following graph is based around CPU speed. Let's take a look. The testing platforms on top are labeled A, B, C, D, and are spread out evenly along the center line, which represents CPU gigahertz from 0 to 4.0. This range of CPUs, from 1.1 GHz to 3.9 GHz, represents the common range of CPU speeds that most players use, based on Steam stats. The platforms below, E, F, G, H, I, and J, represent the current consoles. This includes PS Vita, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, the PlayStation 4 Pro, and the Xbox One X. I think it's interesting that the Xbox and PlayStation 4 consoles, along with the Switch, fit nicely in between A and B testing platforms in terms of CPU speed, which is the primary bottleneck for Lazr at the moment. Keep in mind that Platform A gets 100 to 200 frames per second during the boss fight, so I have hope that the PS Vita won't be too much of a challenge to get Lazr running at 60 frames per second. I know that it will require some optimizations, which I have prepared, from simmed style C++ vectorization to splitting the particle system workup across frames. There's a lot of options here to get Lazr running on the PS Vita. In summary, doing these tests and creating this graph has shown me that Lazr's codebase is in an extremely good position, as it runs efficiently on tablet, laptop, and desktop platforms, even at 1.1 GHz, which is probably slower than the phone you have in your pocket. I am very excited to finish Lazr and, working with my publisher Top Hat, releasing it on as many of these platforms as we can. You can play the free demo of Lazr at lazr.online, available on Steam, itch, GameJolt, and Indie Expo. See you next week.